Hello and welcome into Sports Talk on a Budget on this beautiful Wednesday evening. It is Wednesday, September 9th, year of our Lord 2023. It's getting a little colder here in Utah, so fall is here and we have football is in full swing. Just had week 1 of the NFL, week 2 of college football. That is what this show is going to be about. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive into the topics. Like I said, this is Sports Talk on a Budget. My name is Cody. I'll be your host as always. Please like and subscribe to the show on YouTube. Comment if you'd like. If you have a comment, please try to keep it clean. But if you have a comment, comment if you'd like. I do like constructive criticism. And then like and follow on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other podcast stations there if you prefer the audio version. But with all that being said, let me go ahead and dive into the topics of our show. As I mentioned, we're in full swing for football now, so this is going to be basically all about football unless some big breaking news happens in another sport pretty much for the next 4 to 5 months, or at least until January or February. Then we'll get into some other sports, but mainly going to be about football going forward. Going to start off the show with my week 2 college football reaction and then move to my week 1 NFL reaction, and then I'll go ahead and finish the show with my week 3 college football picks and my week 2 NFL picks, and we'll go on and go ahead from there. But a lot of big things have already happened in college football in just 2 weeks. A lot of big things happened in week 1 of the NFL. So a ton of stuff to talk about, a ton of stuff to react to. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the show. So as I mentioned, we'll go ahead and start in college football and just some big reactions. First reaction and first question, and I feel like we ask this question every other year, every 3 years or whatever, but it does beg to be asked right now, and that is Texas back? Texas went into Tuscaloosa, Alabama on Saturday night and beat the Alabama Crimson Tide 34-24. Quinn Ewers was great. He looked a hell of a lot better. They did against Rice. Maybe there was a bit of a look ahead against Rice. Maybe Steve Sarkisian was keeping things close to the vest. A big kind of a talking point and question mark for Quinn Ewers was the deep ball. He was amazing on the deep ball to guys like Xavier Worthy, and just the other guys that they have a wide receiver as well. Quinn Ewers looked like the first round quarterback that people said he could be, and the five-star quarterback he was coming out of high school as well. So he finally looked the part. Texas finally felt the part. We've heard about Texas for the last couple of years. They have the requisite talent. They're recruiting better. They're doing really well in the transfer portal. We kept hearing that this is Texas's year. We thought that maybe last year that might have been a little premature, but everybody coming into this year was drinking the Texas Kool-Aid, and even I was drinking the Texas Kool-Aid, and it seems to be that Kool-Aid isn't stale, that Kool-Aid is good and it tastes well, and it is here to stay because Texas just did what many teams can't do, go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. Alabama hasn't lost at home since losing to Joe Burrow in the 2019 LSU team, and we all know how great that 2019 LSU team is. Don't think Texas is on that level, but they're back, or at least they're back for right now, and they are legit title contender. They just beat the best team they're going to see on their schedule. The rest of their schedule in the Big 12, Kansas State's looks good. Oklahoma's looking good. We'll see about Texas Tech if they bounce back from some early woes, but they just beat the toughest opponent and the best team on their schedule. So sky's the limit. Can this Texas team deal with this kind of hype? Because it was just hype before. Now it is hype with a result. So can you stay the course? Can you keep this momentum going? Last year when they played Texas down to the wire, there was a ton of hype there, and then they went to Lubbock the next week and lost to a Texas Tech team that was a vastly inferior Texas Tech team. So can Texas take this hype with the results and keep chugging along? Because the talent's there. The talent is there. The defense is caught up. The offense is unbelievable. They have a good run game. Quinn Ewers is playing well at quarterback. They have tons of weapons at receiver, both inside and outside. They could beat you short. They could beat you long. This is a team built to make a national title run. But the only team that can really beat Texas going forward, in my opinion, on their schedule is not on their schedule, and that team is Texas. So can Texas live with this hype and this result, and can they move forward, and can they keep their eyes on the bigger prize? Yes, beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa was a big prize, but still, there is still a lot more fish to fry. We've only played 2 weeks. Some people have played 3 weeks, but we've really only played 2 weeks of college football. And there is a ton of teams out there that are vying for for a playoff spot, that have an opportunity and want to get to the college football playoffs. So Texas has to stay the course. They have to keep their eye on the ball. Yes, celebrate this. This was a great win Saturday night, but move forward and keep your eye on the ball moving forward. But let's talk about Alabama a little bit. Now, there was question marks about Alabama coming into the season. I had major question marks about Alabama. I didn't even pick them to win the division. I picked LSU. That pick doesn't look great right now, but doesn't look that bad because Alabama doesn't look that great. But my question marks with Alabama was, do they have the talent at wide receiver, and do they have a quarterback that can play in 2023 college football? Because the style of play that Alabama wants to win with this year is a style of play that they would have dominated, and they did dominate in 2009. They dominated in 2011. It's a style of play that they've dominated with in the past, but it's a style of play that is no longer conducive to being winning football in college football. It's just not. It's no longer conducive to being winning football in college football, and people thought, okay, well, they're going to have a stout defense, and they do have a pretty good defense, even though Texas kind of had their way against that defense. They're going to run the ball. They have a ton of running backs. They have a ton of dudes at running back, but no one has emerged as a number one running back. Their offensive line, a lot of people thought that was going to be the strength. I still think it can be. Was not the strength on Saturday night. They were not great up front on the offensive line Saturday night. So still a ton of question marks with Alabama. You never want to question Alabama. You never want to question Nick Saban. But like I said, in 2023 college football, you can't play the way that they were planning on playing. So they're going to have to figure out who's going to be their quarterback, and can their quarterback win throwing the football. Yes, they're going to be able to beat teams the way that they want to beat teams and the way that their strengths are for this team. But there's going to be teams like Texas, maybe like an LSU, probably not a Texas A&M. We'll get to them in a minute. But there's going to be teams like Georgia that you're going to have to play modern day college football and beat them, or at least use those athletes that you have or that you're supposed to have, because they're all 4- and 5-star recruits. Use those players that you have and use them in the way that you've won recently, when you had Mac Jones and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle, or when you had Tua Tagovailoa and those same wide receivers, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, the just unbelievable amount of receivers and quarterbacks that you've had come through there in the last 6 or 7 years. That's how Alabama has won their national championships of recent date. It's not with Mark Ingram running the ball 30, 40 times, or Derrick Henry running the ball 30, 40 times. That just doesn't work anymore. I just don't believe it works at a high level in college football anymore. Like I said, there's going to be games where they're going to line up and they're just bigger, faster, and stronger than the other team, and they can just impose their will and run the ball down the other team's throat. But a team like Texas, who has skill positions that are on par with Alabama, who has a vastly superior quarterback, who has players that can play with Alabama, you're not just going to be able to line up and bully them around. So we'll see what happens with Alabama, see if they can find the quarterback. I don't believe they have a quarterback on their roster that can really challenge a defense, or at least an elite defense, the way that they've had quarterbacks in the past. So this could be a 3-loss team. This could be a 1-loss team and still find their way into the playoff. But this is going to have to be a coaching, just a great coaching job by Nick Saban, which he obviously is capable of, to get this team to a college football playoff, because I just don't see the overall talent at the right positions that you need in this day and age to really make a difference and make a run in a college football playoff. We're going to go ahead and stay in the South and stay in the SEC, but we're going to start with the team that the SEC lost to. And just like I asked if Texas was back, I'm not going to ask if Miami was back, because it's a little premature. But wow, Miami gets a stunner on Saturday night. They pushed Texas A&M around, and they beat Texas A&M 48-33. Now, I wasn't as high on Texas A&M as other people were, because I saw what they were last year, and I'm not really a big Jimbo Fisher fan, and I'll get into Texas A&M in a minute, but let's go ahead and look at Miami. Miami got behind early. They were down 10-0 early, and it looked like, okay, maybe this Texas A&M team is legit. Miami stayed the course. They played the way that they wanted to play. Tyler Van Dyke was very good in this game. Their new offensive scheme under Shannon, was it Shannon Dawson is his name, I believe. They look like they're improved from last year, and last year's just debacle on offense that they had. They're improved this year. The defense is improved. And just like Texas, just like Florida State, just like USC, Miami has utilized the transfer portal to catch up with these other teams that have recruited really well on a high school level. There's teams like Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State who are on another level when it comes to recruiting at a high school level. But now with what the transfer portal has to offer, schools like Florida State, Miami, Texas, USC, even obviously Colorado that we've seen already this year, they can kind of shorten that gap a lot quicker than it took in the past. In the past, it would take you 2, 3, maybe 4 recruiting cycles to get back up with the upper echelon of college football. Now with the transfer portal, like I said, teams like all of the teams I just mentioned are able to kind of shut that gap a little bit. And if they can develop those players that they get from the transfer portal from other schools that maybe weren't developed like they should have been, but were high 4 or 5 star recruits at other schools, or even lower ones, and develop them even to starters on a Power 5 level, they can really kind of take the next step without having to wait. And that might be what's happening in Miami. And what I mean by that is they've done really well in the transfer portal. They've actually done really well the last year and a half in high school recruiting as well. So this is a team, Miami, just like the other 4 teams I mentioned, always had the capability of getting back up to college football. And I don't know if they're going to get all the way back up to college football, but this is a huge program win for Miami. And this is a huge kind of program builder and a move forward win for Miami. And you look at the rest of the ACC, obviously we saw what happened with Clemson on a Labor Day night against Duke. We don't know if they're going to really bounce back. Outside of Florida State and maybe North Carolina, but North Carolina struggled with Appalachian State. So I would just say Florida State is the class of the ACC as it is right now this year in 2023. But Miami could get up there, and we could see the resurgence of Miami and Florida State. And that is one of the best rivalries in college football when they're both playing at their best and playing at the top of college football. So that could be really fun and a really fun development that could be happening. But let's look at the other side in Texas A&M. And for Texas A&M, how much longer are we going to do? How much longer are we going to say this? How many more times are we going to say this? How many more times are we going to question this? It's not working. Jimbo Fisher and that experiment is not working. He's in his 6th season. He's not in his 2nd season like some other coaches. He's not in his 1st season, obviously. He's not even in his 3rd, 4th, or 5th. He is in his 6th season, and the story is still the same. Listen, they're in the top 5 composite ranking for rosters, and that's basically the most talented recruiting roster in the country. They're in the top 5 rosters in the country, and you wouldn't even know. They went 5-7 last year. They lose on the road to it. Like I said, a pretty good improving Miami team, but there's no reason that they should give up 48 points with the players they have on defense to Miami. There's no reason for that, and they shouldn't be losing that kind of game with the players that they have. They have a better overall roster, top to bottom, than Miami, and it's really not even that close. It's close because of the transfer portal and what Miami's been able to bring in the last year and a half, basically. But Texas A&M, like I said, they're only behind, I believe, Alabama and Georgia and maybe Ohio State, but I really just believe they're only behind Alabama and Georgia when it comes to best overall rated roster. The difference is Alabama, Georgia, and even Ohio State, they're developing those players and getting the best out of those players and making playoff runs, making conference championship runs, making championship runs. They're developing and getting the most out of their players. Texas A&M is not. Texas A&M's not. Connor Wegman was a 5-star recruit, and he played decent in this game, but he was outplayed by Tyler Van Dyke. This experiment with Jimbo Fisher, and maybe gets a little bit better this year. I have my doubts. I don't think it will. I think they lose probably 2 to 3, maybe 4 more games. But I just don't believe in this program anymore. You brought in Bobby Petrino to kind of shot in the arm that offense a little bit and see if he could take over for Jimbo Fisher and get that offense back on track. It didn't work. It did not work. So he's not. It's still early, but I don't have any trust in Jimbo Fisher. I don't have any trust in that program, and I really believe that it's time to cut ties. I know it's going to be a massive paycheck, but they can't afford it. And what they can't afford is to keep putting this result out on the field, to keep doing the same thing over and over again and not getting any different results. They can't afford to keep doing that. They're going to start losing recruits. They're going to start losing steam that they've had in recruiting, and they're going to start losing the fan base. Well, the fan base will probably always be there, but they're going to start losing the support that they have, and they have one of the best supports. They have one of the most support of any program in college football. And then kind of just wanted to touch on just overall college football as a whole. College football as a whole, the field is more wide open than it has been in years. For basically it's been dominated by Alabama, then there was Clemson in there, Georgia now, Ohio State's always up there at the top. Those were kind of the schools that have been dominating the sport for the better part of a decade, and when you look at Alabama for basically 15 years. But that may no longer be the case. You have big brands popping back up, like Florida State beating LSU, like Texas beating Alabama, like USC last year missing the playoff by a game and maybe just a Caleb Williams injury away from the playoff. You have Miami beating a Texas A&M. You have Penn State that looks like a bona fide, legit playoff contender. So this field is wide open this year. I didn't even mention teams like Oregon, Washington, Utah. So many teams that have an opportunity this year to make a legit playoff run, and I believe that is really good for college football because you have a ton of outside noise that is not good for college football right now. You have all the realignment talk and all the realignment that has happened. You have all the issues with the transfer portal and with NIL, and then you have all the issues with the NCAA trying to kind of flex their muscles with the Tez Walker situation and other situations, with the Jim Harbaugh situation. A lot of negative news coming out of college football, but the product on the field and just the overall product as a sport, I think is rivaling like an 07 season or rivaling like an 07 season or other seasons like that. We had a lot of parity, and I think that is something that we could have this year in 2023 is a ton of parity, and we may have a 2-loss team make the playoff just because there's so many good teams, and a lot of these good teams are going to have to play each other. They're going to have to play each other, and some of those teams that people might be writing off, like an Alabama, like an LSU, even like a Clemson, those teams are still have great coaches and still have great cultures, and they could turn it around right away, and they could be right back in the mix and right back in the thick of things as well. So I'm excited about what is happening right now in college football, and I can't wait basically for every Saturday going forward because I think any Saturday anything can happen. So it's very exciting to see, and I'm really excited for this college football season and just to see how it all unfolds. But I'm not ready to get all the way to the playoff and national championship. I want to keep watching regular season games because that is what makes college football. Let's go ahead and move on to our second topic, and that's my NFL Week 1 reaction. And we have to start, there's only one place to start when it comes to Week 1 reaction, and that is what happened on Monday night and the devastating news that happened to Aaron Rodgers. Now, I've never been a big Aaron Rodgers supporter, fan, never really been a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, but your heart has to go out to him. 4 plays into his new team at the Jets. Ton of hype, obviously, all season. There was Hard Knocks, ESPN, Fox Sports. Basically, any sports outlet almost daily had to mention Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. You saw just a bunch of celebrities there. It was 9/11 anniversary. There was a ton of energy in that building Monday night, and it all just kind of went out of the building on the 4th play of the first Jets series where Aaron Rodgers goes down. Then we find out later on, and actually the next day, that he has torn his Achilles and is out for the entire season. Like I said, it was just devastating, and your heart goes out to the Jets fans. As a Patriots fan, I don't like the Jets, but you still have to feel for them. It's a franchise that probably feels like they're a little snake bitten. They're a little cursed in ways as well. But hats off to the Jets and Robert Saleh and that just team. They turned around and got a victory. Took to overtime, got that punt return by Gibson, who had just recently made the team last week and was kind of a success story in Hard Knocks as well. He gets that punt return and returns it for a touchdown against the Buffalo Bills to get the victory. They could have just went in the tanks and just heads down and went in the tanks and kind of just punted on the Monday night game, and really no one probably would have blamed them, and I think a lot of people were just expecting that to happen as well. But no, the Jets stayed the course, played good defense, got some turnovers from Josh Allen, which we'll touch on here in a minute, but they just a great cultural win there, and just hats off to the Jets team there to stay the course after something like that happens. Basically, the entire story of your offseason was Aaron Rodgers, and you only got to see him play 4 plays, didn't even get a completion, was actually sacked on 2 of the 4 plays that he played. That was kind of a big question mark coming in the season, was the offensive line. We'll get into that later. I don't think this is the right time or moment to talk about that offensive line, but that was a question mark, and that did show up right away for the New York Jets. But you get that win Monday night. Don't know what the season has in store. Jury is still way out on Zach Wilson. I have my doubts. I'm just going to say it. I don't believe in Zach Wilson. I don't believe he is good enough to lead this team to where they thought they could be. The defense is going to keep them in games, but will Zach Wilson be good enough to win those games that the defense keeps them in? History has said in the last couple of years that is no, but we'll see. But to move to the other side, and the Buffalo Bills, and a recurring issue is now happening for the Buffalo Bills, and this is basically what the 3rd or 4th season that this recurring issue has popped up, and it's not going away, and that's Josh Allen. Josh Allen is probably the best player on the Buffalo Bills, but he is also the player that seems to cost the Buffalo Bills more than any other player on that roster. This game was at hand. This game was won in the second half. Zach Wilson wasn't moving the ball for the Jets. The Jets had a little bit of life left, but not a ton. But the thing that kept the New York Jets in the game, not just their defense, Josh Allen kept the New York Jets in this game. He had 3 interceptions, 2 in the second half, and a fumble, just an egregious fumble when the game was definitely at hand late in the 4th quarter. And Josh Allen just seems to be a guy that, yes, Josh Allen is supremely talented. He's big, he's strong, big arm. He can run. He can move in the pocket. He can make basically any throw you want him to. He can make any throw. But I believe that he knows that he can make any throw and that he is one of the most talented players, not one of the most talented quarterbacks. He is one of the most talented players in the National Football League, and he knows it. And that kind of works against him because he wants to hit a home run. He wants to make the wow play, the spectacular play, every single play. And you just don't need to in the NFL because, yes, you're talented and you're a great player, but you're also playing against the best of the best. And sometimes you're going to try to force something or force a ball into a tight window or throw off your back foot or throw across your body when you're running one way and you're throwing the other way. And there's going to be great players that are going to make you pay for making those decisions. And Josh Allen continues to make those decisions. He continues to throw the ball inaccurately or just ill-advised throws to places that he doesn't need to. He continues to run the ball with just reckless abandon. He never slides. He always tries to kind of get the extra yard. And I love the fire that he has. But at some point, you have to start playing smarter. You could play as hard as you want, but there's sometimes you need to play smarter than you're playing harder because it's going to cost your team. And it cost your team Monday night. That win was in the bag for the Bills. It was in the bag until Josh Allen took it out of the bag and handed it to the Jets. And he's a great player, and he's one of the best quarterbacks, top 5 quarterback in this league. But if he continues to play this way, I don't believe in this Bills team. And that's why going into this season, I thought the Bills, the ceiling for the Bills, I thought this year was division champions, and I thought that was it. Because I don't trust this team in big spots, and I don't trust Josh Allen in big spots. And he continues to prove me right. He continues to prove me right in big moments and big spots. And until I can see him consistently not turn over the ball, not make mistakes, not make ill-advised throws, not just try to, be Superman on every single play and take the easy plays, take what the defense is giving you, go down if you're going to be sacked, throw the ball out of bounds, throw it at the guy's feet, live to play another down. Until I start to see him do that on a consistent level, my trust in Josh Allen and this Buffalo Bills team has a ceiling, and that ceiling is division champions. And with the way that some of the other teams in the division played this past weekend, that ceiling could be lowered. If he keeps on playing the way he's playing, that ceiling could be lowered. You can't just give away games in the NFL because you don't know when you're going to get those wins back. And Josh Allen totally gave this game away. It falls squarely on his shoulders. But let's go ahead and kind of just move around the league a little bit. And one of the big games and one of the big results I saw from Sunday was the 49ers just absolutely thrashing the Steelers in Pittsburgh on Sunday. This was a trendy Pittsburgh pick. A lot of people were picking Pittsburgh to cover. There was even some people out there picking Pittsburgh to win this game. And San Francisco went in there, and from the get-go, they were like, no, we're the better team. We have actually the better quarterback, and I believe they do have the better quarterback right now. And we'll get to Brock Purdy in a second here. But they're like, no, we have the better roster. We have the better team. We're better coach. We have the better quarterback. We're better, and we're going to show it from jump, from the first play. And from the first play, from the first drive, they go down the field. They score. Brandon Ayuk touchdown. Brandon Ayuk is turning into probably one of the more underrated players in the entire league, and maybe their actual number one receiver, with Deebo Samuel kind of being like the Swiss Army knife, but Brandon Ayuk being the actual number one wide receiver. But that's a conversation for another day. But this Niners team is loaded. They have stars at each position group, whether it's offense or defense, and they may have found the signal caller and the quarterback that can really lead them to where they deserve to be in Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy looks comfortable. He looks confident. He is making plays and throws, not just with his arm, but with his legs. And the quarterback has been the missing link for this team. Like I said, they're stacked at every single position group you can mention. The only missing link was, can they get good enough quarterback play to beat some of those elite teams with quarterbacks? And the way I've seen Brock Purdy play last year up until the NFC Championship when he got injured, and Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe he can be that guy. And he could definitely be that guy when he's throwing to people like Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and obviously Christian McCaffrey as well. So I believe he can definitely be that guy, and I think he is that guy. And the sky is the limit for this 49ers team. A lot of people are questioning them coming into the season, questioning him, and a lot of people were actually picking the Seahawks to win that division. Now there's a lot of football to play, but the 49ers definitely flexed their muscles on Sunday and showed that they are a part of the class of the NFC, and they may be the best team in the entire league. And then one of the result was a Sunday night result, and that was just an absolute beatdown on Sunday night by the Dallas Cowboys over the New York Giants. And that Dallas defense is legit. They're legit at every level. Micah Parsons is one of the best players in the league. DeMarcus Lawrence is a stud. You have Stephon Gilmore on the other side of Trayvon Diggs now. You just have studs all over that field. That defense is going to be legit and going to be tough for any offense that they play all season long. Tony Pollard looked great. CeeDee Lamb looked pretty good. Brandon Cooks fit right in as well. The question mark for this Dallas team, I think this Dallas team can make a Super Bowl run, but the question mark is going to be, is Dak Prescott good enough to lead this team to a Super Bowl? Because just like the 49ers, now their roster is not as good as the 49ers, but it's close. But just like the 49ers, they have stars all over the place. And the only question mark is Dak Prescott. Can Dak Prescott lead this Cowboys team, which I think is going to be a really improved, really good team that could win that division, even with the Eagles there? Can Dak Prescott be good enough and be good enough in those tight, pressure-filled spots to lead this team to a Super Bowl? Because they're definitely a Super Bowl roster. So those are just some of my main reactions from this past week to both college football and the NFL. A lot to look forward to this weekend. Do the Bills bounce back? Do the Chiefs go and get a win down in Jacksonville? What happens with the Jets going to the Cowboys? Is that a game, or do the Cowboys show like what they did on Sunday night as well? So a lot of big games, a lot of big results. This weekend for college football isn't the greatest weekend, but you never know with college football. Sometimes those weekends when you look around, you're like, okay, well, there's not a lot of great games. There ends up being like 5 or 6 or 7 great games that you weren't expecting. So just tune in and watch college football. It doesn't disappoint most weekends. So with all that being said, that was my reactions. Let's go ahead and move to my picks. And I'm going to go ahead and start with week 3 college football. Like I said, this isn't a great slate, but doesn't mean they're not going to be great games. So just watch, because there's a chance that some of these games could turn into great games, because that just seems to be what happens sometimes when we have those kind of sleepy weeks. It turns out to not be at all. So we'll start with the game that's actually the big noon kickoff game, and that is number 7 Penn State at Illinois. And Penn State is actually a 14-point favorite in this game. Illinois went down there Friday night. I'm guessing not a lot of people watched it, but I actually caught some of it. Went down to Lawrence, Kansas last week on Friday night and just got absolutely hammered by Kansas. This was supposed to be an Illinois team that was supposed to contend in the Big Ten West, and they still may, because there doesn't look like there is really any kind of top-level contender, or at least a team above the rest of them in the Big Ten West. But this Penn State team looks legit. Drew Aller looks legit. You know they're going to run the ball well with Singleton and the other running back. They're throwing the ball well. They're playing good defense. I think Penn State goes into Champaign, Illinois, not just wins but covers. Give me Penn State minus 14 in this game. And then we have kind of a sneaky good game that might be off the radar a little bit, but is number 15 Kansas State at Missouri. And Kansas State is currently a 5-point favorite in this game. Kind of a result last week that probably not a lot of people saw, but was Kansas State at home against Troy. Now, Troy is one of the better Group of 5 teams in the country, and Kansas State put it to them. I believe it was like 42-10 or 42-13. Kansas State put it to them. This Kansas State team is well coached. They're well disciplined. Yeah, they're not as talented as some of the top-level teams in the country, but they're going to play their brand of football, and they're going to play hard every single Saturday. And I think they go into Missouri and not just win, but cover. So give me Kansas State minus 5 in this game. And then we have number 8 Washington at Michigan State. And obviously you've seen all the turmoil and everything going on with Michigan State. Mel Tucker, he hasn't been fired yet, but he's suspended with the issues that happened with one of the people that came in that was talking about like mental health and sexual assault. I'm not going to get too much into that there, but it's a very, very sticky, dirty situation there. Mel Tucker's probably never going to coach another game for Michigan State, but currently right now he's just suspended but not fired. So with all that turmoil, Washington's a 16-point favorite in this game. I know it's on the road. I know it's in East Lansing. Washington is just loaded on offense. Obviously, Michael Penix Jr., loaded at receiver. Their defense will probably get a couple turnovers from Michigan State. I think Washington goes in there, and this is not a game. So give me Washington to win and cover. Give me Washington minus 16 in this game. And then another sneaky good game, but down in the SEC, and that is number 14 LSU at Mississippi State. And LSU is actually a road 9.5-point favorites. So they're favored by 9.5 points in this game. Now, Mississippi State has been running the ball a little bit more and probably, not should have, but probably should have actually lost to Arizona last week. Maybe a little look ahead to LSU, but I think Mississippi State keeps this game close and has an outside opportunity to win. So Mississippi State money line probably wouldn't be a terrible bet. But I think Mississippi State keeps this close. LSU, I still don't love what I've seen from LSU. Week 1 did not look great against Florida State. They played Grambling last week, so I don't really count that game really. Mississippi State can throw the ball with Will Rodgers. I don't know why they haven't thrown the ball more so far in the season, but they can throw the ball with Will Rodgers. They can run the ball as well. So I like Mississippi State to keep this close. Maybe not win, but cover. So give me Mississippi State plus 9.5 in this game. And then we'll go ahead and round out my college football picks with the backyard brawl, and that is Pitt at West Virginia. And Pitt is currently a 1-point favorite in this game. West Virginia has been better. They looked better against Penn State. They kept that a game against Penn State longer than I thought they would, even though I thought they'd cover, but it was 20.5, so it was a big line. But I just think Pitt's better. They're coming off a loss against Cincinnati. I think they go on the road to West Virginia. Tough place to play in Morgantown. Yes, that is a tough place to play, but still don't know what to make of this West Virginia team. It's only a 1-point spread. So give me Pitt to win and obviously cover. So Pitt -1 in this game. And then we'll go ahead and finish off the show with my Week 2 NFL picks. And we'll start with the Chargers at the Titans. And the Chargers are currently a 3-point favorite in this game. The Chargers lost kind of a heartbreaker at the end there to the Dolphins at home last week. They're playing, I think, a team that's not nearly as good as the Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill, we talked about Josh Allen giving the game away to the Jets on Monday night. Ryan Tannehill gave the game away on the road in New Orleans to the Saints on Sunday with, 4 interceptions. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is cooked. I think he's done. They're going to have to figure out whether Malik Willis or Will Levis is going to be their quarterback going forward, because I think Ryan Tannehill's done. He is what he is at this point. He's basically a turnover machine at this point. So with that being said, I think the Chargers go in there and win and cover. So give me Chargers -3 in this game. Then we have the Chiefs at the Jaguars, and the Chiefs are currently a 3-point favorite. Travis Kelce is still questionable. They brought back Chris Jones on a 1-year contract, so that's going to help. I think Travis Kelce will play, but this Jaguars team is good. Calvin really looked amazing for the Jaguars on Sunday against Indianapolis. Travis Etienne has gotten better. Trevor Lawrence has gotten better. That defense is still playing well. I think the Jaguars have an outside shot to win. I really like Jaguars' money line as a decent bet, but I think the Jaguars cover and keep this game close, so give me the Jaguars +3 in this game. Then we have the Packers at the Falcons, and the Packers are currently a 2-point favorite in this game. The Packers look really good on Sunday. Now, they were handed a lot of things by that Chicago offense, but Jordan Love looked comfortable. He spread it around his receivers. Christian Watson's supposed to be back. Aaron Jones looked like he kind of messed with his hammy there, but he should be back and ready to go. They still have a two-headed monster there with Austin Dillon and Aaron Jones. I just have more trust in the Packers at this point, even with Jordan Love at quarterback. So I think the Packers go into Atlanta. Atlanta looked okay. Don't know about Desmond Ridder. Bijan Robinson looked like the stud that he is, but outside of that, they squeaked away a win against probably a bad Carolina Panthers team. So I like the Packers to win and cover, so give me the Packers -2 at Atlanta. Then we have the Jets at Cowboys, and the Cowboys are currently an 8.5-point favorite in this game. Listen, the Jets were able to muster up some passion and some fire on Monday night after Aaron Rodgers got injured, but now they've had to hear all week about what they're going to do without Aaron Rodgers. That defense is still going to be legit. I just don't trust Zach Wilson, and I don't trust Zach Wilson on the road, especially against an elite defense like the Cowboys defense. I think this Cowboys defense eats Zach Wilson alive on Sunday, and they probably get 2, maybe 3 turnovers, probably a handful of sacks, and just get him to play what we've seen from Zach Wilson so far in the NFL. So I don't love the Cowboys or the Jets' chances in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Cowboys to win and cover. So give me the Cowboys -8.5 in this game. And then we'll finish off with the Sunday night game, and that is the Dolphins at the Patriots. And the Dolphins are currently a 2.5-point favorite in Foxborough. The Patriots probably should have beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They had every opportunity to, and they spotted the Eagles a 16-point lead early on in the game, came back and had every opportunity to win that game. Mac Jones looked good, 3 touchdowns, 300-plus yards. They need to figure out the run game. I believe they played Ezekiel Elliott a little bit too much. Ramondre Stevenson's a better running back. Play him more. He's a better running back. See if they get Devontae Parker back. That could be a big boost. See if Juju Smith-Schuster's a little bit more healthy. And then you look at the Dolphins. Tua was outside of his mind. Tyreek Hill's an absolute beast. This is going to be a good game. This might be a higher scoring game than most people think, but I think the Patriots can pull out the victory here. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Patriots +2.5 in this game. So that will go ahead and end my NFL picks. Now we'll go ahead and end the show. Thank you for watching and listening. This is Sports Talk on a Budget, of course. My name is Cody. I'll be your host as always. Please like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, and also like and follow on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you like to get your podcasts. Thank you again for watching and listening, and have a great day.